So is Kinich's weapon a good value pull for your account or not? In this video we're going to be reviewing the weapon, seeing if it works on other claymore characters, and seeing if it's worth it to pull this weapon for your account in general or not. Again, I just want to clarify, this video is a review for the weapon for your whole account on all of the different claymore characters. It's not a review specifically for this weapon on Kinich. If you're only here for that, then yeah, this weapon is going to be his best in slot weapon. Pretty good weapon for him. If the only thing you're thinking about is how to maximize your Kinich's damage, then yes, just go for this weapon and don't worry. But this video is a review for this weapon on every single claymore user. Before we continue with that though, if you're trying to get Kinich and his weapon, you're gonna need quite a bit of primo gems and Genesis crystals, and the best, cheapest, and safest way to buy them is gonna be throughout Lootbar GG. Lootbar is gonna be a very safe and secure top-up website where you can buy different games currencies, including Genshin Impact. If you want to buy from there, you'd want to click the link in the description. You go to the website, choose the game, for example Genshin Impact, and then choose an offer. For example, this offer here is gonna cost me around $50 in the official game store. On Lootbar, it's gonna cost me $43.23. That's around $7 or 15% saved. And with coupons, you can have even more discounts. With Lootbar, you can save up to 20% when buying your Genesis crystals. But yeah, you just want to choose your offer, enter your user ID and region, make sure they're right. Click on top up now, enter your payment information, and then just click on proceed. After you do that, you just want to wait a couple minutes and then open up your game, and the Genesis crystals are gonna be there. Those are some reviews from their website. They're very safe and secure. Use the link in the description to get your Genesis crystals from Lootbar now. Alright, so back to the video, let's see what this weapon is going to offer you. First of all, this weapon is going to give you 740 base attack at level 90, which is the highest base attack any weapon can have in the game. It's going to share that among some other weapons like the Calamity Quellers and Eula's weapon and stuff like that, but this is indeed the highest base attack in the game. The substat is going to be crit rate, and it's only going to give you 11% crit rate. Now, I see a lot of people freaking out about this, but it's just normal really. Any weapon that's going to have a super high base attack is just going to have a lower substat, whether it's crit rate or whatever. So obviously, yeah, it's gonna have very low crit rate compared to its base attack. Now, moving on to the most important thing, which is the weapon's passive. We have gain 1 stack of Canopoi's favor after hitting an opponent with an elemental skill, and this can be triggered once every 0.5 seconds. So just whenever you hit an opponent with your elemental skill, you're gonna gain 1 stack. And then after a nearby party member triggers a burn-in or burst-in reaction, the equipping character is gonna gain 3 stacks. So the way to gain stacks on this weapon is gonna be either hit an opponent with your elemental skill or triggering a burn-in or burst-in reaction. And you don't have to trigger it yourself. It says after a nearby party member. That means any 2 characters on your team that trigger a burn-in reaction, even if they're off field, the character equipping this weapon is gonna gain 3 stacks. And yeah, it's gonna have a cooldown of 2 seconds, and it can be triggered even when the triggering character is off field. So yeah, this is the way to gain stacks. Now, what these stacks are gonna offer you for each stack is that elemental skill and elemental burst damage is gonna be increased by 10% for 6 seconds. That's pretty much it. It's just elemental skill and burst damage bonus. And then you can have a maximum of 6 stacks, and then each stack is gonna have its own timer. So it's not like you're gonna reset the stacks by gaining more or anything like that. Any stack you get is just gonna last for 6 seconds and disappear. It doesn't care about other stacks or anything like this. So in total, if you're able to trigger this weapon's full passive, what this weapon is gonna fully offer you is gonna be 740 base attack, 11% crit rate, and then 60% elemental skill and burst damage bonus. 60% elemental burst and skill damage bonus is gonna be super huge, obviously, for any characters that rely on their elemental skill or burst to deal damage. So yeah, preferably, obviously, you just want to use this weapon on characters in a burn-in or burst-in team to be having like the most stacks at 100% uptime. But what I don't see a lot of people talk about is that you can actually use it even outside of like burn-in teams, because you can just gain stacks just from hitting opponents with your elemental skill. So if a character has like good cooldown on their elemental skills, they can have a decent amount of stacks. It probably won't be like the maximum 6 the full time, but it still can be usable outside of burn-in teams. I think the most thing that limits this weapon is going to be that it only gives damage bonus to your elemental skill and burst. So if a character doesn't really rely on these to deal damage, then this weapon is not going to be as good. If they do, usually it's not going to be bad on them. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to characters and see which of them can use this weapon. So straight up, the first one who can fully use it is going to be Kinich. It's going to give them the high base attack he always needs. It's also going to help him with crit rate a little bit, which for a signature weapon, I think it's a little off. I don't think he really needs crit rate as much. He probably can't get enough just from the artifact set, and then just with like the substat and stuff like that is going to be good. So crit damage would probably been better, especially as a signature weapon, but either way, it's going to be pretty good and the best weapon for him. He can also maintain the full 6 6 stacks the whole time, so nothing on this weapon is going to be a problem. It's going to be his best in the slot and probably better than most weapons by at least 15 to 30%. So yeah, for Kinich, it's going to be pretty good. Now for the rest of the characters, it's going to be a little hard to find characters that can 100% fully use this weapon, but I can think of a couple that can use this weapon pretty well. Probably the best 2 users for this weapon other than Kinich are going to be Dea and D-Luke. First of all, you can both play them in a burn-in team. Probably not ideal, but it's definitely possible to do. But yeah, both of them deal decent damage off their elemental skills and bursts, and both of them can be played in burn-in and version teams. It's going to give them crit and then the damage bonus to their elemental skills and bursts, which is pretty good. For D-Luke, you can kind of use it even outside of like burn-in teams, so it's going to be pretty decent on him more than Dea, I would think. It's going to be less like team restrictive because D-Luke can just spam his elemental skill a little bit, and every time you do it, you're going to gain stacks. So it's obviously not going to be fully utilized because you're not going to be getting the full stacks, but you can probably maintain like 2-3 stacks for every rotation with D-Luke. But yeah, preferably you just play him in like a burn-in team, which is not bad with D-Luke, and this weapon is going to be super good on him. The high base stack, which is pretty good, and then the crit rate, and then the damage bonus to your burst and skill, which is a decent amount of your damage. So yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty decent. And also the same thing with Dea, but with Dea, you definitely have to play her in a burn-in team. The last character I can think of who can like use this weapon straight up is just going to be Navia. Obviously, just for the high base stack, it's going to be pretty good on her, but the only problem is that the passive is not going to synergize with her at all. You're going to have to play her in a burn-in team, which is not really the best for Navia. You can make it work, but generally speaking, you don't want to play her in a burn-in team. And without like a burn-in team, you're probably going to have just like 1 stack or less, so it's not going to be super good. It's mainly going to be used as like a stat stick. Unless you play her in a burn-in team, you just add a Dendro somehow, and in that case, you can use it with Navia and it's going to be super good. But I'm not sure if that's going to be worth it damage-wise, because yeah, you're going to gain the maximum potential of the weapon, but I'm not sure which characters you can replace, because you're going to have to give up either the Pyro Resonance or the Geo Resonance, which is not good. So yeah, it can work theoretically, but it's a little awkward with Navia. But yeah, for the rest of the characters, really, I don't see any of them being able to use this weapon other than the stat stick. And even as a stat stick, it's not really like the best. It's just super high base stack and then a very low crit rate amount. So if a character likes high base stack, then obviously it's going to be pretty good on them, but if not, it's going to be kind of mediocre. It would have probably been much better if it was like 670 something base stack and then 22% crit rate. It would have been much more like balanced, and that would have made it a much better stat stick. But even right now, it can't be used as a stat stick for most claymore characters. Most of them are attack scalers anyways, so yeah. So yeah, for the final conclusion, is this weapon worth it to get for your account or no? Honestly, it's kind of meh. I wouldn't really say it's a bad investment for sure, but as I said before, the passive is going to be a little bit clunky, kind of a big limitation. And then also, even as a stat stick, it's not going to be like super good. It's not as straight up as other weapons, super high base stack, very low substat. So if a character doesn't really need that high base stack, it's going to be less than optimal. If I had to rate it out of 5, I would say it's probably like a 3.5 value. So it's not like the best. I wouldn't say go for it if that's the only claymore you're planning to get, like 5-star claymore. But if you're getting it mainly for Kinich, it's not going to be a bad weapon to have either. You can probably use it on other characters as like a scuffed weapon. So yeah, I would say it's not like bad in general, but I probably would rather you skip this one. There are much more better general 5-star claymores to get. Should probably just wait for them. But yeah, that was the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.